This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Monday, July 31st of 2017.
You are correct, sir.
This time.
It'll be that way the rest of the year, I think.
At least part of it.
For at least half.
Yeah.
Well, no, less than half.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Because this is the 7th month.
Yeah, but it's the very last day of it, the 7th month, so
Yeah.
we have like 4 more months.
What?
Right?
4 more months. 5.
There's 12.
Oh yeah, through
Plus-
December. All the way through it.
So I'm...
Well, 12 minus 8 is 4 is what I was doing, but months don't work that way because you have to go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, okay. I gotcha. I'm Dan Ellis, joined in studio by Mr.
Ryan Duffy.
Just Ryan.
Just Ryan.
Only Ryan.
No one else.
Raping Ryan is here.
Porn Stash Duffy.
Stash and more
You still
ink.
have the porn stash. How
Oh,
long
yeah.
are you going to keep it?
Until it gets annoying.
It's already
Well,
annoying.
to you or to other people?
Yeah.
Both.
I find it annoying, so it's time to shave.
And, of course, the misanthrope is here.
I am here today.
Mr. Matt Mitchell. And we are joined in studio by Mythrin.
Yay.
Yay!
Very glad to be here.
This is your second appearance on the show, I think?
Yeah.
I think second, yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun when we had you on the show last time. And I have to get a drop from you this time because you're here in studio, and I forgot last time while you were here and have been kicking myself ever since. So remind me when we're all done that I need to do that.
Get the drop.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So what did you guys do over the last week? Ryan?
I got tattooed and went and listened to music.
Yeah, what? Well, yeah, I know you got your tattoos.
Yeah. It's still working on that. I went up to Snow Basin for their Blues Brews and barbecue
Oh, how was that?
yesterday. Good.
Yeah.
It was a little warmer out than I thought. Hey, let's go up in the mountains where it's not as hot. And I'm like, it's so fucking hot up here.
Not as overbearingly hot. It was still, it was really hot where I went camping too. How many more sessions have you got on your tat?
1, possibly 2 to bring it all the way up into here.
Yeah.
So the next session is going to be doing all the highlights, finishing off the astronaut, getting all the stuff in between, and then going as far up as we can in 6 hours.
The DNA, the double helix looks really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I think it's unique and interesting. I don't think I've seen anyone else do a double helix and stars inside of the...
Yeah.
Well, now
Other
everybody's
spaces.
going to do it because you just said it.
Yeah, but I'll be
Trendsetter.
the original.
Trendsetter.
Because we're all made of star stuff.
Well, and I saw your Instagram deal. Was that the foamy shit you were telling us about? That cream, whatever?
That numbs your arm?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that stuff was.
Huh.
So that was right at the end. He put it on. I'm like, couldn't you put it on about an hour ago?
Well, and it showed that it was all on there, and then he wiped it off. And when I showed that it was all on there, I was like, that's a weird-looking tattoo, because you couldn't really tell until he wiped it off, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, he likes to do that to give people a little bit of reveal online of the
Yeah.
work. So
That was really nice. It looks good.
yeah.
I'm digging it. And what did you do over the last week? You went to Lake Powell.
Yeah, I just got back from Powell. It
And
was
how did that
fucking
go?
hot.
Yeah.
It was real hot down there.
Yeah.
What were the temps like?
100
100+, I'm
yeah,
guessing.
100 plus. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
It just felt real hot.
And you said...
I know the water was 81.
Oh, yeah?
So
That's very nice.
Yeah.
That's a fucking bathtub, man.
I know. It was nice.
And you said that it all went pretty well except for...
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time getting everything on my boat ready
Uh-huh.
because it's old and kind of finicky. And so some of this, like the trailer straps are like chain hinge clamps that you can only adjust one link at a time. So if the boat is in a slightly different spot on the trailer when you retrieve it, then it might be so loose that it just falls off. So you have to try to adjust it a full link, and then it's too tight or whatever. Stupid.
Yeah.
So I got rid of those, put ratchet straps that ran down underneath, and a bunch of other shit. I did some adjustments on the carburetor and the choke, and so it ran a little bit leaner. It was a little bit smoky and stuff. It's a 66 Johnson engine. So anyway, did all that. Loaded all the gear and stuff, which was nice because we had a lot more room in the vehicle to drive down because all the stuff was in the boat. And anyway, got down there, backed it into the water, and I didn't prime the gas line, which whatever, but still fired right up. So I was like, sweet. So they pulled the trailer out. I put around to the dock, and my father-in-law comes back down and he's like, dude, you are really pitching in the... He's like, is this the load or what's going on? And then he walks up and he's like, there's a fucking shitload of water in the boat.
Did you forget the plug?
No.
And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get... And there's all the gear is in there, so I couldn't see. And like, we had this tube that was all this tube to pull that was all inflated. So I couldn't see. So I started moving. It was fucking full, dude. There was like 14 inches of water in the back of the boat.
You're freaking out thinking, oh my God, my boat's going to sink.
Yeah, it was sinking, no doubt. So, and I'm turned the wrong way, and I'm like in 10 feet of water probably, which is better than out in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
But so I jumped to the dock and kicked the front end of the boat around, and then jump back in and start swimming it to the ramp. And I finally got it to in about 4 feet before the motor actually hit bottom.
Oh.
And water was just over the back end of the boat. Like it was flowing freely. It was so far down on that side. And, yeah, so some old guy's like, did you forget your drain plug? And I'm like, fuck! How do you forget the fucking drain plug?
Oh, I've had a friend do it, and he got halfway out in the lake, and he realized, I'm sinking.
Yeah.
I had to race back to the dock.
Yeah. That's what he said. He's like, what you need to do is just get in it and start running it around out there and force all the... I'm like, fucking no, dude. I'm in 4 feet of water. It's fine. It's not going any further down. I'm not going to take it out into 300 feet of water. And, so yeah. So we just had to... I had him my father-in-law back the trailer down and then connect the winch and pull it up as far as I could, and then have him back down to push the boat further in the water so some more would come up, and then winch it up, and we finally got it and drained it out and then put it back in.
Wow.
With the plug.
With the plug. And it never fucking started again.
Oh,
no.
So it was cranking, and then the next day when I tried it, thinking, okay, well, it'll all be dry and stuff. I tried it in the morning and it cranked and it wanted to fire. It's like 2 seconds maybe. And I'm like, okay, we got it. And then after that, it just clicked. Nothing. The solenoid or the starter or something. So yeah, so I had all my shit pulled out of the engine compartment sitting there. And so like the next day I go walking by to grab my fishing poles and I'm like, holy fucking shit. That gas tank is like round. It's like a rectangle gas tank that slides under the engine compartment. It was like fucking swollen round because it's sitting in the sun.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, that's supposed to be covered. None of that's covered. So I jump in there, open the gas tank, and it's like so loud. And so I'm like, God. So I'm trying to wedge it back down in there. And every time I move it slightly and shake it, it just blows back up again. It was so volatile. And I'm like, fuck. So I don't know what to do because now it won't fit back in there. Every time I try to move it, it just swells up again. So I'm like trying to jam it so I can get it in the shade. And then all of a sudden I look down and I'm like, my engine compartment's filling again. And I'm like, where the fuck is this water coming from? And I'm like, that's fucking gas. My fucking corner of the thing ruptured. So I'm like, Brandon, get over here. So I rip it out of there. I put the rag over it so it's not spewing into the lake. Unhook the fuel line. And I'm like, Brandon, go throw this on the beach real quick. So he throws that up there, and I try to cover all my other gas cans, and that just poured out into the sand, and then I buried it later. But yeah, so I mean, what else was that, so
another reason why I like kayaks.
Yeah, kayaks are fun.
Damn.
So anyway,
I should buy a boat. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If this didn't sell you on it, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Yep. It was just a domino effect. I mean, if I would have remembered the fucking drain plug, then it would have been fine. It would have been, the whole thing would have gone
just
to plan.
Just that one little thing.
Yep.
I mean,
Your
for
free
someone
will
who
was
does not
fucked.
own a boat and does not go on the water frequently, it seems like my anxiety would. The first thing I'd check is whether that boat's going to sink. Just saying.
Yep. And that's one of the worst parts about it is I was just sitting there at the dock, fucking not even paying attention, just like, I don't know, maybe I'll put on a podcast while I'm waiting. Didn't even fucking notice. And nobody else said anything. There's a ton of people walking by and nobody's like, hey, your boat has water on the inside. Nobody said it.
Everybody just walking by going, well, I guess he's doing his own thing. Maybe maybe his boat is supposed to do that. I don't know.
It's just really, that guy's heavier than he looks.
Is he looking for an insurance claim?
He looks lonely. Maybe this is just
I
he's
don't have to
going to
insure
go
that
down
boat.
with the ship. I don't know.
You don't have to insure that boat. Anyway,
man.
So that was fun.
That sounds like an
So
adventure.
we caught 0 fish.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because I didn't have my boat.
So what did you guys do the whole time?
Well, I
you were
mean,
down
they
there?
had a ski boat and they were, tubing and surfing and doing all that, but I couldn't just like go do what I wanted to do and go fish around. My trolling motor still worked, but in the main channel, that thing is hairy as fuck, dude. Because ski boats don't care; they'll drive 10 yards from you.
Yeah.
And if you can't turn it, hit the throttle a little bit and power through those waves, or if they hit you broadside, you're fucking done. So,
Damn.
anyway, it was sketchy.
Well, that sucks, man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's all good.
That's a bummer. We had the 7th annual, I want to say, Atheists of Utah camping trip. That was a lot of fun. I went to Black Hawk Campground.
Black Hawk Campground?
Yeah, Black Hawk Campground.
Okay.
out near Payson. And that was a lot of fun. It was still really hot up there. We were at like 8,000 feet and
near Payson.
It was still
It's just hot all over the state right now.
90 degrees out there. But the interesting thing was that when we arrived and started setting things up, the camp host came over and, they usually have older people who are working in the campground who sell firewood, tell people to keep it down, put toilet paper in the bathrooms, all that kind of stuff. And he came over and was talking to us, giving us the rules for the campground and everything. And he said, well, this should be an interesting weekend. We got you guys, the Atheists of Utah, here in the group site. And every other site in the whole campground is taken up by the All Reds. And for those of you who may not know, the All Reds are a large polygamist clan here in the state of Utah. They're part of the Apostolic United Brethren. And I believe we were talking pre-show. I think they are who the show Big Love is based on. They don't wear prairie dresses and have big hair and all of that kind of stuff. It's, they're much more modern. They blend into modern society.
Yeah.
But we ended up having 3 or 4 of the elders, I guess, from the All Red clan come over and talk to us. Had a conversation with them for about an hour. That was pretty interesting. Focused primarily on separation of church and state issues. I think the coolest part of not the interview, the discussion. Coolest part of the discussion was
when you sank your boat.
You sank my battleship. One of the guys brought one of his wives and I think 3 of their children over. They were all gingers, so I didn't feel quite so alone. But we were talking and I said, we're all about you can believe whatever. So they wanted to come and talk to us because they didn't know what an atheist was. They'd never really talked to one, didn't really know what we believed or anything like that. So we had this kind of introduction to atheism, or Atheism 101. This is what an atheist is. Why we reject the God claim.
Well, it's definitely a lot cooler that they came over to investigate and actually talk to you versus just saying, well, those people are horrible, dirty heathens over there. And
right, yeah. And they were super friendly, really nice, cordial. We had a great conversation with them. They didn't proselytize. That's whether that was their goal or not, they didn't end up doing any of that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, just had a nice open conversation with them. And focused on, like I said, separation of church and state, and
which is something that you'd think any of the various polygamous groups would advocate for quite a bit, right? There's a lot of laws on the books specifically targeted towards polygamists, as well as all sorts of reasons that predominant religions being able to control government might rub them the wrong way, just locally.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and one of the guys at one point made a comment about, well, it's nice to come and be able to meet you and learn more what an atheist is and, not just go off of what other people may say. And I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. And I said, and I'm sure you guys run into that all the time, that you as a group of polygamists get lumped in with every other kind of polygamist, with the Warren Jeffs of the world and things like that. And he's like, oh, yeah, we get kind of tired of that. But at one point in the discussion, somebody asked him what made their religious beliefs any different than mainstream Mormonism or any of the other polygamist sects. And he said that they don't believe in forcing anybody to follow it. They don't marry underage girls. There's no creepy weirdness like that.
They're a little more ethical.
Yeah. Well, according to them.
Yeah.
And they certainly seem that way. And like I said, he brought one of his wives and some other younger kids. And he said, we don't want to force our beliefs on anybody else. We don't have illegal underage marriages. There's nothing like that goes on. We try to allow our members to follow us willingly and to choose this lifestyle and to choose to live by the principle of plural marriage rather than forcing it on anybody. And he said, one of my daughters is no longer in the faith. Another one of my daughters is joined the mainstream LDS faith. So I like to think that, we're very much into free agency and free will and being able to allow people to choose whether they want to believe or not. And so, of course, I brought it up and said, well, do you think that people are actually able to exercise free will when making a choice of religion when they are steeped from birth in a particular set of religious beliefs? If that's what they've grown up in and been taught their entire lives, is it something that they can actually freely choose because they're unaware of all of the other options that may be available to them? This is all that they've ever known. Do you think that really affords them a free choice? And I was really surprised when he just said, that's a really good question. But yeah, we had a great discussion. Yeah. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like more of a rarity when it comes to discussions with some of the more they lean more towards the extremer sides of some of the religions, but it seems like they were quite open to other ideas.
Yeah, and they all seemed just friendly as hell. I mean, anytime they had to drive past, we were at the mouth of the loop, so anytime they went to their camp or were coming or going, they had to drive past us. We've got the Atheists of Utah big banner flag and little A-frame out there, and they'd smile and wave. And
now, how much of your beer went missing after they left?
Well, that was the other thing too. Like we said, so I know some polygamist sects will allow members to smoke and drink and have coffee and that kind of stuff. I said because Joseph Smith did that kind of stuff also, and they all just kind of looked at each other and like. Some people choose to, but for the most part, we don't. And we didn't really get into any particulars of their theological teachings or beliefs or anything. It was mainly just like we're all people kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. So if this were the reverse, right?
Yeah.
And this one person was really rude, and all the other members of the Apostolic United Brethren would probably say something like, well, you can't judge the whole faith based on one person. What do you think the odds are that this was just a really open member of that community, and that 99 out of the 100 would have gone like atheists? Oh no! What do you think? Is it?
I think probably pretty good considering he's the one that walked over.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Just Googling really quickly of United Apostolic Brethren and sex abuse. I mean, there's a couple. of things. So it's been an issue, I guess, before with teens, but I have to say there's fewer than with most of my searches. Yeah. So.
But yeah, it was interesting. I was going to read more about them when I got home, but as with all things, I'm always busy, and I have all these grand designs on things that I want to do or would like to do that just never come to fruition because I'm doing other things, or I just fall asleep because I'm fucking tired.
Naps are good.
Yeah.
This is New Name Noah, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Mormonism, God love it. It does take crazy to a whole new level. I mean, all religions are magic tricks. Mormonism is just a particularly bad novelty shop level, intelligence insulting magic trick. This religion is so ridiculous, Tom Cruise would not join it, and Glenn Beck did.
I want to talk more with Mythrin about progressive deism.
Okay.
What does that mean?
We could start with asking what I did over the weekend. That's probably a good.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. What did you do over the weekend?
So over the weekend, I actually spoke at Sunstone.
Nice.
Which doesn't exactly play into this, but we'll get there in a second. But I spoke on epistemological guardianship, which just the idea of how we know what we know, and I took a professional aspect to it. I had a company I worked for a while back where there was a vice president who had this very firm belief that was completely wrong, and we threw hundreds of thousands of dollars and bought millions of dollars of products and did all sorts of things based on this belief. And when he came, he brought the idea to us. We're like, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. And his reply was, well, I'm speaking on it in 2 months, so figure out how it is a big deal. And it struck me how similar that was.
You need to justify this for me.
Yeah, to the I already have this belief, so you have to now go and find evidence to back up my belief that happens so frequently with apologetics. I was basically an apologist for this guy's idea. and then he started to file a patent on it, and that's just dug it in deeper. Mm-hmm. And after $500,000 and 5 months of building out the database structure and putting it all together, it was worth about $500 a year. So, not the best use of time and effort. And I thought, how did we get into this? And that led to the presentation at Sunstone on how do companies get into these things? Because it happens, and it happens frequently, and it's really similar to getting yourself set in a belief and ignoring the evidence. One of the things that we talked about was confirmation bias, and that just because you know what confirmation bias is, and you got the list of fallacies up here, which I love on the wall.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
But just because you know that there's the word confirmation bias, or that most humans have it, we will walk off the cliff like Wile E. Coyote, like anyone else, and you almost have to have someone else check you on your data. So. Yeah. We talked a little bit about A/B testing and putting your ideas to the test and how to look into data to find when you are off balance and that sort of thing. And it seemed like it was a well-received talk. But the week before, I went walking in the woods up here in Murray Canyon. I forget, Grandeur Peak, I think was the walk. And my entire group left me, except for one guy.
Left you behind?
Left me behind. They just, they're going, assholes. And I'm not a big hiker.
We do this a lot, and you're holding us back.
That is exactly what happened. That is exactly. They're like, did you bring water? I'm like, no. They're like, this is a long hike. I'm like, okay.
Do you have shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, we started walking, and the guy I got left behind with was a Mormon. Not just a Mormon, but someone who had been reformed. He had left the church, gotten divorced.
Oh, not a reforman.
Yeah, reforman. That's right. And had gone into an alcohol binge, and now was back on the straight and narrow. And here I am in my current situation, and we just started walking, and at one point, we'll do this in demarcations along the trail. We get to this giant rock sort of feature, and he finally works it up to say, now, are you one of those of the God sort or the not God sort? I'm like, well,
that's weird.
I'm a little different. So I'm a progressive deist. And of course, he has never heard of what this idea even means. So I will explain it for those of you who do not know. because it's not a common term, but if you want to picture it, I think the most clear I can give for the nerd anyway out there in the audience, if you picture Star Trek The Next Generation and Q, right, and how Picard like stands up over and over again, even though he is this all-powerful being and says, we're humans and we're going to do this ourselves. That's the basic idea behind progressive deism, that there is maybe this God out there, but there's no guarantee he's good. There is no verification that he has our best will in his heart, or that he or she or it has any sort of caring. And I think this is going to go kind of like this over the next little bit. Most of your listeners are going to think, this guy's crazy. Why do they have him on? And then we're going to get about a third the way through, and they're going to go like, oh, he's just another atheist. Like, there's not that much difference. And then we're going to get to the last bit, and they're going to go, he's brilliant. So I hope that we can get through to that end. I'm not trying to convince anyone to be a progressive deist, but there's a particular aspect that I think is really useful for getting around some of the common arguments.
I think we might want to hit that confirmation bias thing again a little bit real quick here.
Also possibly true. So anyway, here we go. So as I was walking along with him, I explained that basic definition of progressive deism. And he did something which I think any good Mormon would do at that point. And I don't mean to pick on the Mormons exclusively.
I'll do that.
But this was the experience, and I've got several more from various Christians we'll get into in a second. But he bore his testimony to me. You know, I know that God
fucking hate that so
loves
much.
you.
Like you tell an LDS person that you were LDS and you no longer believe or whatever, and all of a sudden they have to tell you, well, I just think that's so sad because Heavenly Father loves you, and I know that this church, and they start doing their whole fucking testimony spiel. It's like, no, just fucking stop right now. I don't want to hear it.
I know where you're going with this, but he did tailor it a little bit for me. He said, I know the universe has a plan for you. I said, what does that mean? What does it mean the universe has a plan for me? Like, if I were just to leap off this cliff and break my leg, was that part of the universe's plan?
Universe is a dick.
Like, if I was born in Ethiopia, we would not be having this conversation. No. I would be dead already. So what sort of plan does the universe have? And this kind of tripped him up for a while. We continued to walk and talk about how beautiful nature was and so forth. And then it went back to how he had this period where he was bitter and he was angry at God and he had to recover. So he totally understood where I was coming from.
I was once like you, and now look at how much better I am.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I get you. I hear where you're coming from, but I don't know that I'm that bitter. I just think we can do better than God as a people together. If we put our heads and say, what is good for us, we will come up with a better system than any of the organized religions. I think that we could do that. And he thought about that for a second, and he said something along the lines of, well, but God really, you know, he's looking out for us and he wants us. And I said, here's my evidence to the contrary, okay? If you go to Jerusalem, right, you're going to go on your pilgrimage and you're Mormon, you're Christian, Jerusalem has a whole lot of meaning. You want to walk where Christ walked. And you go over to the Wailing Wall. It's not that far from where Christ was buried, and it's where all the Jews, that's their main place. It's a big deal, and you could throw a football almost and hit into deep in Christian territory.
Yeah, real Jewy over there.
And if you
a lot of black hats going up and down on that.
I don't know that they'd be throwing the pigskin around so much.
Probably not the pigskin. Perhaps the wrong thing to use, or maybe the right one, considering where I'm going with this. But if you were to turn around the other way and throw that same football or pigskin, you would hit the Dome of the Rock. It's only about a football field away. If you were, what's his name?
Aaron Rodgers?
Sure, I'll take it. Then you might be able to get that football all the way over there and bonk it on the Dome of the Rock, which is the main place of the Muslim. What is a better indication that God is just playing with us than that these huge amounts of people all are fighting over this tiny bit of square feet? And
with these wildly significant portions, or these wildly significant relics or idols, locations for their particular set of religious beliefs.
That's right.
And literally violent differences.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, much more of a Q god.
Right. I'm bored. I want to do something. You know what?
Capricious.
Hey, you boy. Yeah, you in the farm thing. Yeah, you. there's gold plates in your backyard, man.
Right.
In the middle of the burned over district. What am I going to do next? Oh, I got it. Hey, this thing, this is an angel and it's got a sword. You got to take someone else's wife.
Right.
You got to take someone else's wife right now. It's right now in this era. I guess this kind of comes from, I was raised Mormon, LDS, and people would come with these crazy stories at Fast and Testimony meeting about meeting the 3 Nephites, or I had one guy who bore testimony of donuts. These extreme
of how delicious they are. Or?
No, it was his son got a job in a donut store, and so that he knew that the church was true because he prayed something and whatever. The point is that this sort of outlandish storytelling. You had to buy into it. And so it's my natural kind of disposition to buy into the crazy story and say, okay, I totally believe the story you just told. God did that. But what does that say about God's character? Let's just think about that for a second. Would God really want, if all the people in the world, all the things to do with his 3 immortal Jewish Native Americans, he wants to change your spare tire in the middle of I-15. Does that seem convince me? What's your evidence? Give me something here.
Or if they would have been born in Italy, then, this guy would have had a cannoli testimony.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
in New York, a knish, right? It's all the same fried bread.
Right.
So, anyway, going along with the walk a little bit further, I explained about the different locations and how that to me said that God may not have our best interest at heart. And I said, if you were to die and you've done everything right your whole life, and that led to him going on for a good 15 minutes about how he didn't do everything right in life, of course, because we have to go through that, but I'll spare all of you. And you did everything right. You show up and he says, you're still damned. You're still going to go to the lesser kingdom or hell or outer darkness, whatever you want to call it. And I've got a great article on my blog, by the way, of who goes to outer darkness. If you ever wondered, I've got all the quotes, and no, I still have no idea by the end of it, but no women. I was able to figure that out.
Really, no women go to outer darkness.
That Brigham Young had a direct quote that no women will go to outer darkness. So, ladies, you're safe. Apparently you get saved by marrying men and scooped up to celestial kingdom. You're very welcome, I guess. Anyway,
that basically means they can do whatever they want. They can go murder and...
Absolutely. Deny the Holy Ghost 1,000 times, and as long as you're willing to put out for Brigham Young, you're fine.
Oh, shit.
So it's just full of a bunch of Jews and, I guess, Hitler?
I guess. Sidney Rigdon, I think, is probably there, and Emma Smith may be the only woman because, Brigham. Anyway... I'm off track. But the point is, whatever kingdom you think the people go down to, or hell, or whatever,
the bad place,
you get sent there, and you feel it's unjust. But doesn't the scriptures actually describe this scenario, right? There are those who cast out devils in Jesus' name, and at the end of life, they're standing there. Jesus says, they say, Lord, Lord, did we not cast out devils in thy name? And I never knew you. Off you go. Mm-hmm. How do you know that you're not one of them?
Right.
And, silence. We walk along for a good while. Keep walking. Finally, I'm beat. I am done. I am not going to make the rest of this hike. I'm like, I got to turn back around. And to the guy's credit, I mean, like any good, solid Mormon man, or woman, he didn't leave me. He didn't abandon me. He turns back around with me. He sends the hikers up to go inform the others. Like he's a good guy. And I think this is what gets me upset the most about religions that draft good people and then kind of twist them in the way that we're just about to hear. So we're on our way down, and finally we take a break for a minute, and he finally says, I just know it's true.
Sure.
No, sorry. Before he said that, he says, I think it's just important that you don't step on other people's religions. It's really, he gives this whole speech, another 15-minute worth of walk on how I shouldn't decry anyone else's religion. And then he says, I just want you to know I know it's true.
So the gears, the wheels were spinning for 30 minutes up the last leg and back down. Couldn't come up with an argument, so it's right back to the testimony and or personal attack.
Right. And I just say, I get what you're saying, and I respect it because I was there. But at the same time, when you say, I know it's true, you can't logically say anything else but all the others are false.
Right.
In fact, even in your scriptures, like when Jesus comes and talks to Joseph Smith, he says, all the other creeds are an abomination before me. That's not just kind of light language. That's what you're saying when you say it's true. And I appreciate you saying we shouldn't step on each other's religions. But every time you bear testimony, you're doing exactly that.
Yeah.
I just know that the universe has a plan for you and God loves you. Now, I've explained that to me, God is Satan, right? That I basically believe that he's up there 2 sock puppets, and he comes down with the Jesus sock puppet, and he's like, if you come worship me, I will give you blessings. And then he comes down with the Satan one, he's like, if you don't worship him, I'm going to eat you. And then he laughs, and he can get people to do whatever he wants.
Right.
And here he's saying, I know God loves you. It's deeply like, do you not understand anything I'm saying? And this is...
And the answer is no, he does not.
Right. Now, you might say, well, this sounds a lot like a lot of the atheist arguments. And I think a lot of atheist arguments actually end up being progressive deist ones, right?
Or vice versa.
If you argue anything about, like, what if we are all in a simulation? That's a progressive deism. God is imperfect. He might know nothing about our actual what would be best for us. And I might argue strongly that the whole put all the religions in one area, that sure looks like something I would do in an A/B test to my poor people who are on my website to see how they react. Or what's another good solid argument that comes up a lot? Things like
morality.
Yeah. That we all have this sort of innate morality, but then you have some people whose moralities are just shifted from others, and you can kind of manipulate that. It also kind of looks like this overarching test, or where someone could use, again, with the sock puppets to manipulate. And that so many of the religions use these sorts of techniques. And I'm going to go again, Mormonism's what I know best. But we might go with one of the things that Warren Jeffs said. I don't know the Apostolic Brethren quite as well. But we might go with something like, I know that they mailed kittens in concrete blocks to teach people when they left the church. You've killed this kitten. This kitten died because you left the church, and
that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, this comes from the on Netflix. There's the Sons of Perdition video. They talk a little bit about mailing a kitten. That they didn't get a kitten mailed to them, thank goodness, but that was something that they did before, and they had been this better religion because of it. And I look at that and go, if you believe that God would kill a kitten, literally kill a kitten, because you didn't believe in him, this is not a good God anymore, Or Joseph Smith, as I've already mentioned before, with the drawn sword, you have to go marry another man's wife right now. And at Sunstone, I gave my little presentation on the ex-Mormon subreddit. We had the mods there. We talked about why it's important to be anonymous online and how people are scared to ask questions in Sunday school, that they can go on here with this just thin layer of being anonymous and ask a question that they had always wanted to know. What was the one that was asked? One of you asked before.
Was it the Joseph Smith's, like, him or a family member that might have accidentally drowned and he was rescued?
Right. And if you brought that up in Sunday school, you'd get, like, that hushed moment where everyone, like, stares around at each other like,
we're not supposed to talk about that, right?
Right.
Yeah, we have a strict lesson plan and we don't deviate.
That's right.
Down from the leaders of the church.
I was at a girls' camp meeting, and they went to the Q&A section, and I asked a question. And there was this moment of like gasp, like, because someone actually asked a question and they weren't prepared for the moment, but they handled it well. Don't get me wrong. But I actually got an angry email from someone that I dared to ask a question during the Q&A section.
Dear sir, I am not a crackpot butt.
Who is a crackpot butt?
Probably most of your listeners think I am at this point, but so
sounds fine so far.
So I gave this whole talk about being anonymous and the importance of it, and then this apologist came up afterwards and was just kind of chomping at the bit to talk to me. And an hour later, we are still discussing the importance of having an angel with a drawn sword show up. And how this was, they were all going to be damned. You had to do this. And I'm like, of all the things that you could give instruction with this, by force, right? An angelic, like lightsaber, whatever it was. Maybe that's a good topic to get into is,
well, it wasn't even just a drawn, it was on fire.
No,
right?
no, just a drawn sword. Just a drawn sword. The fiery, we add that with our own minds, but all the sources only say drawn.
So it was on a piece of paper.
That's right.
With sketches.
No,
I'm going to draw a sword.
If we have time, we should get into the technology levels of Satan. That's one of my favorite Nutty Mormon bits. But but let's get back to so of all the things, that's the one that has to happen. And I look at that and say, I will totally accept your premise, right? You can believe whatever you want. I will take that. But what does that say about God if he is? Well, let's just take the example, right? Let's say that your local congregation leader had a man who was married and a woman who was married and forced them to marry someone else in a secret ceremony by sword point. What would we call that?
Well, it's
rape, right?
I was going to say it's some kind of shotgun wedding with a sword. No.
If they're already married, shotgun wedding, like there's a force aspect. Yeah. Certainly consent is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
And why would he do this? You'd be like, that's a creepy guy, right? And I don't say this lightly because my mother was proposed to. I think I went on about this the last time I was here, to be a man's fifth wife. And she had to turn him into the church and she got called in for the disciplinary council and gave testimony and he ended up molesting both his sons and daughters and died up in the penitentiary. So this sort of thing, to say that this had to be done by this, to me it says God is a rapist. It takes the blame from Joseph Smith and his decisions and turns it to God, which is slightly offensive. It should be to the believers. But to me, I'm like, okay, fine. He's a rapist, but why do you worship him then? Like,
well, because we don't understand God's ways. You see.
Right.
They're
right.
mysterious. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't do better. Anyway.
I totally agree.
So
I think he's a monster.
Yeah.
If he exists.
So
well, the one that they write about is a monster.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right. And you get to any claim of any religion, and at some point, so I've this friend.
What do you mean if he exists? Come on.
Friend who is an ex-Catholic, right? And we go down and discuss back and forth about the weirdness of the Catholic religion and the transubstantiation. It literally becomes the flesh of Christ and all that. And finally, at some point, I'm like, what does that say about God? That he's like, yeah, no, take a piece of me. Just chew on it. Like, every time it comes down to what does this say about God's nature? And you have to go to it's mysterious. It's this wonderful thing. It's this, and it becomes hard for me. But I can't go all the way to the atheist side. And I think we talked a little about this last time, but we'll go a little more in. So hold on to your hats. Here's the true crazy.
This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Oh, I love God. He's so deliciously evil.
Please stand by. The Godless Rebelution will continue in a moment.
Here follows a public service announcement for the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast. Greetings, Americans. Over here in London, we are well aware that not all of you are loud, xenophobic, racist, sexist, religious nuts.
But many of your politicians who display these frightful traits seem to be quite popular.
Particularly a certain wall-obsessed, small-handed, best-word-using, daughter-perving, war-inciting, candy-floss-headed clown.
To those of you who choose to follow such balderdash, we strongly recommend not to listen to the Two Skeptical Chaps.
It probably won't be your cup of tea.
Otherwise, give us a listen.
Each episode, we cover any news or current affairs from across the globe.
Things that annoy or delight us.
That's two, as in the number 2.
And skeptical with a K.
The wrong way to spell it. Cheerio.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
So I was on my mission. Right? All good stories start with I was on my mission. Yeah. So on my mission, and I served in Sweden, in deep in the heart of Stockholm. This one happens.
Did you develop a syndrome while you were there?
Yes, I did. Although not the kind that you typically think, but they are all blonde, 6 foot. Yeah. It's a little different, but I would like to return back someday.
If you could get past the herring breath thing.
Yeah, well, Seal, you have to deal with the strumming and all that.
I just always wish they had mail-order husbands.
Because you would sign up for it?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. They're all 6 foot blonde. That's
Wow.
Gender regardless. It works. Okay, so we had this route that would take us past this guy's house, and we'll not say his name for the purposes of keeping him anonymous, but he hadn't been to church in like 10 years, right? And it was a little weird. But we'd knock on his door because we were bored missionaries and there was nothing else to do. And he was right next to our apartment. And, you know, he'd come to the door and do the thing, which I'm sure you all do when the missionaries show up and you see the little like light cover on the peephole, and then they never answer the door. Until one day we came by and we knocked on his door and he actually opened it. And there's no terrifying moment in my life like having the door that you've knocked on like 1,000 times finally open. Like, now what do we do? I have nothing prepared for this. I was just like, you know, we got 10 minutes left. Let's go knock on his door.
I was just about to turn away, and yeah.
Brother Carlson's door. We're just going to go knock on it. So he invites us in, and he is shaking violently. He's got, like, going Parkinson's level.
Oh, okay.
And we come in, we sit down, we talk to him for a little bit, and he says that he's, I don't know what the translation in English is, but he's drunk so much alcohol that he has the
got
shakes.
the DTs, yeah.
Is that the right term?
Yeah, he's DTs.
Going through detox, yeah.
Yeah. But of course I'm a Mormon boy from Utah. I've never seen this before. I have no idea what's going on. And to me, so when I grew up, I had all of these nightmares of dark, shadowy things in my dreams, and there was a particular feeling to it every time. And see, I told you, they're going to think I'm crazy by the end of this bit. This is the bit. Get to the end of this, it'll get better.
It sounds like sleep paralysis.
I totally had sleep paralysis, and no one explained what it was because I was, a Mormon kid, and so it was devils.
So you're using the explanation that you knew of at the time.
That's right. That's right. And I couldn't wait till I got the Melchizedek priesthood so I should cast the devils out and I could work with it. And there was, one time, when I was just before school, we're going to get back to the earlier story. I swear the parentheses are there. We'll get back. And I was waiting before school. My sister's asleep on the couch, and all the shadows in the room kind of swirl and form into this kind of cloaked figure with these really kind of dark, bright eyes. And I don't know how to describe it otherwise. And I did the whole like, Jesus help thing. And it was gone, and off I went to school, and I just thought this was a crazy, I didn't know what it was. And if you've ever looked up the Wikipedia article for shadow people, there is a picture, I told the story and someone was like, yeah, no, it's a shadow person. I was like, what's that? I go and Google it. And the picture they have drawn there was exactly what I was looking at. And that's a creepy, weird moment when something that you have experienced, someone else has drawn a picture of. And there's also one called a Hat Man. And we had the Hat Man that was in my house as well. I saw him walk down the hallway at one point, and it terrified me. I was a little kid. I went running. There you go. There's the Hat Man. Just got pulled up here on the screen.
So that's the Hat Man?
That's the Hat Man.
Okay. I can see the hat.
And 20 years later, right, this happened once to me. I saw him walking down the hallway. I was terrified. I zipped up the staircase. Gave me nightmares forever. I described this, and my sister said, oh, I totally saw him. Like multiple times. I know what that is. And
his
she
name's
described
Barney.
That. Yeah, so people all around the world, including the Ukraine and all over, describe these two the cloaked figure and the Hat Man. And that's given me a lot of pause, and we'll come back to my answers now. But at the time, this sort of feeling kind of had one meaning for me, and that is devil, right? Because you don't get a lot of context to Mormonism for anything other than Jesus and devil. So, it had to be devil, because this was clearly not good. It's dark for anything. So this feeling.
Well, he just didn't fight as valiantly in the pre-existence.
That's right. Cast out. And has nothing better to do than to walk down my hallway while I'm watching Sesame Street. These are bored devils, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're there, and I start getting that feeling, right? There's just this kind of deep clench around the heart, sort of burny, like, there's a devil here. We need to do something.
At Carlson's house?
At the Carlson's house. And he's talking, we're doing the thing, and finally I'm like, you know what? We're going to have to go, but we'll probably come back tomorrow. And I'm not making this up. For as much as I can vouch for my own memory, he slowly looks up and goes, I can stay then. I'm like, that's a weird response. It's your house.
Yeah.
So we go home, right? We go home. We go to bed. We get up the next day. We have nothing on the schedule. What do you do?
Go knock on the door.
Yeah, let's go knock on his door again. That was crazy fun. We have nothing better to do. We get there and the door's open. It's just wide open. We're like, that's weird. Mr. Carlson, are you in there? Nothing. Finally, my companion's like, it's almost like someone wants us to know he's not there. You know? Yeah. Maybe we should go look for him. So we go trailing around. We have nothing else to do. You know, it's better than street contacting. So we go around, looking for him. Finally, we sit down on a bench. We're like, you know, if there were an evil force in the world, we would want the missionaries, the good guys, to like know they had lost, right? But he wouldn't go far because that would be like effort. I bet you he's just somewhere like in the park on a bench. And we went back and forth on coming up with that solution. Finally, we go back to the apartment because we don't find him. We look at all the benches in the whole area. We get back up to the apartment. And the door's closed. I'm like, okay, he's back home. You know, knock on the door because something to do. and he yells, "Come in!" And we open the door and we come in and we say, "Hey, Mr. Carlson, you know, we came back when we said we would, and your door was open. That was kind of weird." No, where were you? And he says, "I was in the park on a bench." And at that point, being a missionary, I knew exactly what to do. Armed to the square, in the name of Jesus Christ, by the power and authority of the Holy Melchizedek priesthood, I command you to leave. And he leaps for my arm. He tries to grab it and yank it down. And he stops when I get to the end. He sits down in the chair and goes, "What was that? What just happened?" And at this point, I am as convinced. We talked about a little bit of why I was convinced as a Mormon earlier. I am super convinced. I know what's going on here. Everything is in the right frame of reference. We're going to talk to him. We're going to be back because Jesus says if a devil leaves, there's going to be 7 more powerful that come back, right? So we've got to be here for this guy. So we come back and you know, try to teach him, you know, whatever you do as missionaries to try to get them, we read discussions at him because that's what you have.
Well, you want his 10%.
Well, and I'm struck by how much you had to have been a true believer, right? Because as a 18, 19-year-old kid who's running into something like this, if I didn't have a true faith that God was going to be there and would protect me from whatever's going on at Mr. Carlson's place, I'd be like, oh, let's just go do some service projects.
Yeah, no, I was gung ho. I was the sort to leap right in and be like, "No, God has my back." Which, in hindsight,
I have the power of the Melchizedek priesthood.
That's right. In hindsight, I was really terrified. I leapt off a cliff once. I did. I mean, and I luckily did not die. Anyway, so we do the thing. We come back, and he is sure enough jittery as ever because it's the shakes and it's DT and he's still going through it. And we're trying to get him to drink orange juice without vodka for the first time. And I mean, whatever. But then he starts to go really crazy. I mean, really crazy. And so, of course, what's the answer? There's only one answer here. We're going to raise the arm of the square, cast the devil out, and it doesn't work this time. Nothing changes. And we talk to him some more. We pray. We try to give him a blessing. Nothing changes. Finally, we call up the mission president, right? This is the guy who is on earth. He is our protector and guidance in the world. And we're like, okay, here's lay out the whole situation.
So you hadn't told him anything up to this point?
No, because
you hadn't said, we're casting out devils and stuff over at Mr. Carlson's.
You don't have that certificate yet.
It's not. I have a merit badge. No. I mean, we never talked to the mission president. Like, it was really rare. Excuse me. It was really rare to ever, talk to the mission president about what you were doing day to day. So we call him up and we describe the situation and he's like, just get out. Just go. That's the best advice.
Abandon this guy or whatever the hell is going on. Yeah.
Sorry, dude, the devils get you. Even though they were taunting us with having the door open, nah, you're screwed, dude. So we get out, and
Satan is more powerful than God.
Yeah, and this was a big shelf item. If you've ever heard the Mormon term, the shelf items.
Yeah, put it on a shelf for later. Yeah.
For later, and I couldn't deal with it right then. But why was the advice of God to leave? Right?
Sorry, I got to stop you there. I've never heard that phrase before. And I'm like, what the hell is a shelf item?
Oh.
This was a major shelf item, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
You've never heard of putting
shelf
putting on a
item?
shelf?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like a conch from
not in
Lord
this
of the
context,
Flies.
but
yeah.
No. Yeah. So there was a famous talk by a mission president's wife that if you have an item that's bothering you, just put it on the shelf for later, and you can come back. And eventually, the shelf breaks because there's so many items on there.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Anyway, so long story short, we never did help Berger. Sorry, gave his name there. Mr. Carlson. We never got him to get away from the devils. If he may have been consumed later, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There was no guidance given. There's nothing in the little white handbook or the manuals on how to handle a casting out of a devil. I'd only learned about it because a bishop had done it to me as a kid. And again, there was my frame of reference, right?
Yeah.
Everything likes to consume a good burger.
That's ouch. So anyway, so this kind of concept that there may be evil things out there, right? Let's just say that there was some evil force, and it was gonna play with these missionary kids, because whatnot. And there's the drunk guy, and it's gonna have some fun. It pretended to do exactly what the LDS Church would make it work. And then it kind of laughed at us, and it didn't have to do anything anymore, right? But the real power of the church stuff didn't work. But what was it that reacted in this way? And I've looked up a whole bunch of things to try to explain, like, what this could be. So, back with the shadow people, I have a firm belief that there's kind of a fluke in our brain, where like when your graphics card goes a little bit hokey and you get some sort of element, that this is a natural thing that shows up and your brain's just like, whoa, we didn't know what to do with that. So it kind of puts it into a kind of a human sort of form, and it's creepy.
An object you know.
An object you know.
Right. Assign agency and all that.
Right. And I came to this conclusion by researching the Papabawa. And you know what the Papabawa is?
Silly word.
It's a legend down in Madagascar about a 6-foot bat-winged creature that rapes men with like a 2-foot or 3-foot penis.
Oh.
And there's this group. There's this group of researchers who went down to study this to see if there was any legitimacy behind it. And
that's all they were there for.
I don't know the whole story, but they go down and this thing has existed. The legends are 600 years old. They get across. There's no physical evidence left behind whatsoever, but it's a common thing. Men will vanish for hours, come back to the village claiming that they have been taken advantage of by this bat creature. And they come back to the mainland, and it would kind of just end there as kind of an interesting story, except for people on the mainland start getting attacked by the Papabawa immediately after. Now, this thing has wings. It could fly across at any time if it could fly. Maybe it was hanging onto the back of the boat water skiing. I don't know. But the most likely thing is that the idea, the meme, carried across. And this sort of...
the idea traveled.
Yeah.
Right. This sort of shadow thing, or that these things can happen, that element was what was brought across. And I think all of these situations, the Mormon faith prepped me for one answer, for one description of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So in light of that, I'm going to give the other thing that leaves me saying there's some power beyond us, but it's not necessarily good. And that is, went camping with a group of friends, giant camp. We're there for a couple of days just after September 11th. So everyone's feeling a little bit weird. That sort of psychosis element needs to be added into the whole story. But we're walking along, and this guy's walking behind, a group of 3 guys are walking behind me, drunk as all get out. And they start talking about me. And they start talking about, like, file folders on my computer. And that I think that I'm going to go and save people. And there's this whole thing. I've never met any of them before. I have no idea who these people are. And they wander off. And everyone who's around me, because we have this group of friends, are like, that was really, do you know them? Like,
FBI.
What's going on? And I'm like, I have no idea what that was. And we go a little bit further, same group of friends, and another drunk set of people are walking along, and one of them is lifted about 3-4 feet in the air vertically, and then thrown forward. And he hits a car. And he gets up, and everyone goes, "Oh, you tripped, man." And he's like, "No, someone pushed me." And I turned to the girl to my right, and she's like, "He was not pushed. He was thrown." And I'm like, I saw it too. And all of us can still get together and talk about, we saw this thing happen. And if you look up the definition of a UFO for NASA, it's anything that goes at a right angle, right? Because we don't have any technology that doesn't have to bank. And this person had been picked up and thrown at a right angle. So I have these experiences, right? And I'm looking at them and I'm trying to make any sort of sense out of it. And I don't expect anyone to believe me because I understand I have no evidence to present, right? I have my story, but it was a first-hand experience to me.
Right, but anecdote and personal experience are only true for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't expect anyone else to believe me, but for me, I'm stuck with, well, there might be something out there, but man, whatever would pick up a drunk guy and toss him, that is not a god that I want to worship. And this is where I kind of came to the progressive deism concept of like, well, okay, maybe yours is the real one. Tell me your story of how the thing was revealed, how God blessed the child, how the one kid was pulled out of the tornado and everyone else died, whatever it is, but then tell me what that describes God's character as.
Hi, this is Yvette Doncherma, aka the Cybabe, and you're listening to Godless Rebelution. You can find me at cybabe.com, at my Twitter account at the Cybabe, and if you've hunt really hard, you can find me at Pornhub. I dare you.
What is the probability that Yahweh is the one true God in Amun-Ra, Aphrodite, Apollo, Baal, Brahman, Ganesha, Isis, Mithras, Osiris, Shiva, Thor, Vishnu, Wanton, Zeus, and the other 986 gods are all false gods? You guys are atheists just like me of all the gods I just rattled off. Some of us just go one god further.
The next rant will start right after this.
Hey everybody, this is X.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm Felicia. We're the Utah Outcasts.
3 out, unashamed, and active atheists living in Utah.
And we are personally inviting you to let us love your ears each and every week.
As we take the news, current events, and pop culture and give it a little twist.
A love twist, with consent.
And we'll be joined each week by a special guest to tell us what makes them an outcast like us.
Come find us.
The Utah Outcasts.
On podhell.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play,
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And on UtahOutcast.com.
We finally bought that domain off the kids handing out mixtapes in the mall.
Come be an outcast with us.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Bonne nuit.
And you're welcome.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
So I'm in marketing, kind of. I'm a data guy, but I work with the marketing people. And along my way of being in marketing, I found this book called The Wizard of Ads. It's a great book, highly recommended even if you're not in marketing. I think his fourth book is the one. He still does a blog. You can read his latest tips and tricks. I think it was in his fourth book, or maybe the third, that I picked up just randomly in the library and started reading. But he made a comparison with, there's a bit of our brain called Broca. And he compares it to the little guy in The Wizard of Oz that opens up the door and says, not nobody gets to see the wizard, not nobody not know how.
Yeah.
And this bit of your brain will only allow new information that is relevant, right? Because they reply, well, this is Dorothy, the witch is Dorothy. And he's like, oh, that's a horse of a different color. Come on in. Everyone remember the sequence?
Yeah.
So, this bit of our brain is looking for new information. And that's, if you've ever seen the old Spice commercial, your tickets are now diamonds, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It caught Broca, right? It got the attention, and that's why it was as sticky as it was. And what I've found is this attempt of saying, well, prove to me your God is good. It catches Broca. If we go back to this guy I was walking with on the trail, there's a reason he stopped talking for half an hour. How do I know my God is good is a thought they haven't had before. The atheist arguments you've run across or that you've heard, they have just an instant, like, whatever the answer is. And finally he did default to testimony, which is usually the instant answer. But it got past that little window, and I did something that's maybe a little bit cruel. So there's another part of your brain that the Wizard of Ads goes on about called the cochlea, I guess. I don't know if he backs it up with science, but I haven't gone into it enough to truly know. But he says this is the part, and it connects to the bones in the ear, where the repetitious, I want to say the word ditty, but that's not the word I'm looking for. The melodies, the tunes.
Like the catch, when something's catchy, or you like how a song sticks in your head.
Yeah. And this is why marketing works, right? Is first you get past Broca, and then you give that same tune that plays over in their head over and over again. And whether they want it or not, they go buy that stick of Wrigley spearmint gum whenever they see a twin, because it's stuck in your head, whether you like it or not.
I think that was double mint.
Yeah.
Double mint.
Yeah.
Double your pleasure, double your fun.
Clearly, I picked the wrong one. It didn't stick in my head as well. But the idea being that if you get past those two gatekeepers, if you get it past the Broca and get it circling, it sticks. So I did say to him, every time you're in fast and testimony meeting, I want you to listen to when the person says, I know it's true, and just think, what does that mean about God's nature? So now this poor guy, every time he goes to a fast and testimony meeting, and they're all going to say, I know the church, even if they don't say anything else, I know the church is true. He's going to look at the rest of what they're saying, and it's going to come back to him because it was a new and novel concept, and he's going to be sitting there saying, what does this say about God? And you know that the wacky that comes out in fast and testimony meetings, eventually that's going to wear until he's going to have to start really thinking.
Yeah, I've even heard stories about people having testimonies about donuts and shit.
That's right. That's right. We had this one lady in Sweden, bless her heart, which never is followed by a good thing. She would bear testimony of how handsome the missionaries were every time. A good solid 15 minutes of just, they're so young, their haircuts.
So nubile in the curve of their buttock.
That's pretty much.
And if any of you boys out there know it, but I need my pool clean this weekend.
I offer them popsicles all the time.
And in the area book, it actually said, do not visit her in giant letters. So clearly something had happened in the past.
God can't help her, huh?
Yeah. Just leave. Just leave, elders. Just leave.
That's two people in just that area that God can't do anything for.
There were lots. There was also the elephant lady. But anyway.
Don't look at her. She's hideous.
No. She was great looking. That wasn't the problem. But Jesus had come to her in the form of an elephant and told her she needed to go to Africa after giving cigarettes to children. And after having sat through that, that took a long time. I just summed up like an hour and a half of like, this lady kind of gets it, but she's so crazy. We went back in the area book, giant, do not visit this woman as well. So there were several that Jesus could do nothing for, it turns out. But anyway, the point is, that I think whether or not progressive deism is something someone adopts, sometimes to take that viewpoint of just turning it and saying, okay, now I'm going to believe whatever you say, man. God appeared to you in the form of a lemon. I'll take it. But what does it say about God's character? Can you explain to me why this is good? And it forces the question back in a way that just dissembles all of those anti-atheist arguments or all of those I know my religion's right, to where they have to actually defend to themselves as well as to you. Well, no, God's totally a good person. He is. So I did. Any commentary on that?
Yeah, well, I'm curious. Is progressive deism a belief system you hold, or is it a tactic you use?
That's a hard question at this point, because I still have those experiences. They're mine, right? And I understand I can't give that to anyone else. If I ever run into, and I did have another experience. I did, later on in life. After I didn't believe in the church anymore, I had another one of these sleep paralysis dreams, a nightmare. And this time I started to do the whole, I'm going to cast it out. And I realized, wait, I'm not a member anymore. I can't do this. And I raised my arm to the square and I said, by the power of Bill Murray, I command you to leave. And Bill Murray in full Ghostbuster outfit came strolling into the dream, and I woke up. It worked just as well. So if I ever see another shadow person, or I have another person who's acting weird and feels devilish, I'm going to totally try Bill Murray. And if you find myself gutted in the woods with a pentagram over my head, it didn't work. But otherwise, I would like to actually test and try now that I have the scientific, rigor to approach these things. But back then I was just a kid with belief, and all I could throw at it was my belief. So it had
to fit within the frame that you knew.
Yeah.
But you still kind of do that though, right? Because it's still God and not cosmic fairies or something else. So you're still holding to the thing that, yes, it's definitely God that's given me, or that the reason why I'm having these experiences and all these anecdotal things you've said, it's definitely God. It couldn't be anything else. It's definitely that, but it's not the same God, or it's a God with a different character than everybody else.
I'm actually leaning a little more towards the God of Mizazaki. Spirited Away, right? All those, the little girl, they turned their parents into pigs, and there's all these weird, crazy things that we just don't understand. That
Okay,
seems like that
so-
might apply better. Picks someone up, throws them, but doesn't really care about humans 90% of the time. I don't know. I'm open. Again, if you have something to present, I will totally listen to it, but I may not say that means God is good. I may not agree in any way, shape, or form. So it's a little bit different tact. I think there's some value in the approach for anyone, but if you didn't have the experiences I did, I wouldn't expect anyone to roll that way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering why the need to cling to a God at all in that sense. I mean, just you're saying that's the way that best explains the experiences you've had, and I'm wondering how you know that.
Well, I don't, to be honest, right? I have nothing that I can back it up other than it was more than the natural, and it was fiendish. But I don't have a supernatural, like, pillar of light above my head, or an angel, or a good thing. I just have these couple of experiences, and I have several more that fit in the sure category. But
well, the plural of anecdote isn't data, but
that's true.
You're
That's
presupposing supernature.
I was going to say, it seems like a lot of this is presuppositionalist arguments for the existence of a God, that, because you have to presuppose a lot of things for any of this to fit into the narrative of even a progressive deism stance.
Right, because I would be totally worshiping the Papa Bawa and begging it not to rape me at night if I were born in Madagascar, right? All these same experiences I would just translate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a valid retort. I just don't, like, how do you, because I can't go back and gather more data, right? I can't go back in time and reobserve. I can't alter or change. So maybe we turn it and play a little bit of the God's advocate. Devil's advocate. I don't know what I'm talking about now. The deist advocate, and say, if you were to have that sort of thing happen, if on your boat ride, you'd come up from your boat being destroyed and all that, and the guy down the way was picked up in the air and thrown a few feet, how would you then reconcile that? If you
that story in just that story itself seems like, I mean, that obviously, to me anyway, was that you think you saw something that you didn't really, because nobody else had the same reaction, right? I mean, nobody else, but I mean, the people who were there with that guy
did not have
said,
the same
"Hey,
reaction.
you tripped, you tripped, you're drunk, you're stupid,
But
whatever."
My friends with me, right? We were up on a hill, so there was some distance. I'll grant that. But all of us saw him get raised first and then thrown, and we were the sober ones. So
now
there's that too.
Here's my were they also in the same religious category that you were at the time?
No, they were not. So the friends that were with me all were in the same religious category. All the people,
that's where I was going with the people that agreed with you on what happened, and that's where I was kind of going with. Over time, we all know that our memories can be corrupted,
right?
And that's where it's kind of going with at the time being religious. If you tell yourself over and over at the time, well, at first like, oh, maybe no, you didn't trip, you got thrown, and then you kind of make yourself leading to believe, well, yeah, the guy was lifted up and kind of like a fish story. Well, first it might have been, well, you just lift off the ground a little bit and then thrown.
I think there's something even more
over
basic
times and
happening.
stories.
I think even more basic, because let me grant you that happened. It was a right angle and everything. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
So you definitely saw something weird. That guy experienced something weird. Something strange happened that we don't experience or see or, regularly. 90-degree angles, people don't get lifted by themselves, all that kind of stuff. That still doesn't get you to God.
Right.
That's where
There's
I'm
a
stuck.
huge leap between the Allfather in the sky, who is
or
Jewish
any,
carpenters, or
any supernature.
Okay.
At all. I mean, whether it's the bat rapist or Sky Daddy, it's all.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a really
Who
strong
knows?
local gust of wind. I mean, right? I mean,
sure.
The answer is we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know what
rift
happened
in the space-time continuum.
We don't know what happened there. Something weird, but we don't know what it was.
So we're at the point of like, I not that different from atheism, but it led me to the marketing tool of this works really well, and I continue to use it, and it does work really well.
I could see where it would.
But at the same time, do I have a kernel of it? Maybe a kernel, but if I die and there's anything on the other side, I would be surprised at this point. I think that's where I'm at, even if there was something, let's say that it was an alien, right? that doesn't impact my life. I don't live it differently because of, or it was a tree nymph. Yeah, it turns out there's one tree nymph left on Earth. It doesn't matter as far as living life. So,
I think a huge advantage you have is kind of like what the Satanic Temple is to politics. There's a softening there because first of all, they don't know what the hell you're talking about at first. When you tell, if I say, oh yeah, I'm an atheist, boom, walls are up.
Right.
They're done. They know that, they might try to bear their testimony and be sweet Mormons and all that stuff. But with you, there's like a tiny little bit of a crack left in that wall because you're still saying some of the right words into their ears. There's still supernature involved and God and what, all these other words they've never heard before. So they can't really feel threatened. They're kind of just like unsure. And so I think that allows you some room to at least start a conversation where for me, it's.
Yeah, they haven't shut off.
They're not interested in talking to me at all. Yeah. So I think.
And it is kind of the cop out where if someone says, do you believe in God? And be like, yeah, sure. And kind of that agnostic kind of wiggle room sort of thing where it doesn't have to become a huge debate. But if they then go on to say, well, God told me blah, 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 I can immediately turn around and be like, okay, but what does that say about God that he talks to you and not anyone else, or whatever the thing is? If they start putting forward, because I have had about a dozen people who have come and said, I have a message from God for you. Mm-hmm. And I did create the Mythrin challenge, which is I have a code that I wrote down, and then I have a friend who wrote down a code. And I will do anything that any of these gods, should they exist, tell me to do between the two codes, right? That still stands. And they are still written down. They still exist. Should not be a hard thing for an all-knowing God.
So what do you mean between the two codes?
So it has to start with my code.
Countersign.
Oh. Has to start with my code, give me the instruction, end with the friend's code. I am game. You have passed the test. I will do whatever it is. If you can't do that, you're not an all-powerful God, because that's like reading paper. That's not that hard. Yeah. And I got this system from two places. One is this is how TCP/IP works, right? To be able to verify the message across a network, you have a handshake at the beginning, you send the message, and then you make sure that it comes across correctly. As well as James Randi, this is how he would deal with psychics, is that if you don't have both pieces of the code, they can't talk it out of you. If the friend has a piece, then you can't convince yourself. And this was part of during my transition out of Mormonism, trying to figure out how to deal with these old experiences that I had gone through. I'm like, okay, here you go, God. I will do anything you say, but you have to give me it between the two code words. And it's amazing how little God spoke since then.
Pineapple pizza.
Yeah. No. But I have had 12 people who have attempted the code throughout my life and said, I have a message from God, and here is the code. I'm like, no. Or they didn't even know the code existed. I'm like, hey, there's a code. Tell me what it is, and we'll go. And they're like, I don't do that. And I'm like, okay, well, then your God that you're talking to is not the same one I'm talking to. Because I forget what the topic was before.
And your God is weak.
Your God is weak. He can't read a piece of paper. This is not a hard test. And, the most common thing people say immediately afterwards is, well, we shouldn't try to test or tempt God. And being in Mormon land, I just point out D&C 129, where you shake the angel's hand, right? You stick out your hand and find out if he's got a resurrected body, or he'll refuse to shake, or a devil will try to go through it. It's just a handshake. It's a handshake that TCP/IP uses. It's the same sort of thing. It's just modern.
Yeah.
As opposed to ancient. So anyway, there's my progressive deism rant and rave and kind of ideas for how to approach if you ever want to get in that crack, as you're saying. It's
we love getting in cracks.
Fun approach to take. I'll just keep going there with innuendo.
Yeah, call your bat friend.
Yeah. No.
So I have some questions for you.
Sure.
But I'm going to ask them in just a minute.
Hi, this is Justin Schieber, formerly of the Reasonable Doubts podcast and currently of Real Atheology, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Okay, we say we came across this murder site and we're just cleaning it up.
Who cleans up murder sites?
I don't know, we're Mormons.
Mormons don't clean up murder sites.
Mormons are helpful.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
Okay, so I was wondering, the biggest question I had for you was, why not start with the null hypothesis, that instead of taking a presuppositionalist stance, why not start with, I just don't know, like the null hypothesis of anything is possible at this point. I can't explain it. And so until I can provide evidence as to what it may be, then I just have to say, I don't know. It's not that there was any agency involved, any spirits, evil or good, or anything supernatural. It's just, I don't know. I saw something that was a little weird from my vantage point and perspective, but until I can provide evidence to show that, oh no, it was this, then all I can say is I don't know.
And that's probably just holdovers that I was raised with such a strong, like, there are devils, there are angels, there's this whole spiritual realm, and so it's still kind of baked into the brain that I have. Because once you say it like that, like, that's totally what I would put towards someone who is running a marketing campaign and they wanted to A/B test it, and we totally know this. How do you know that? Let's start with that we don't know anything. So, that may be a flaw in me, now that you say it quite like that. 'Cause it's all colored by the beliefs at the times and the places. And now that I don't have that structure, again, I understand that it has to be understandable, verifiable, and reproducible. And these are none of that. I cannot verify it. I can't reproduce it. I've gone back. There's no journals at the time. Like, I have nothing. So I keep hoping, if anyone knows a possessed neighbor, I'd love to stop by and have a quick chat, to try to reproduce it. And if I can, great. And if I can't, then, then it was nothing. But there's a lack of data, and I probably should start with the null hypothesis, but I am where I am because I have this whole history of belief. Yeah, no, that's.
So Matt drew the, what was it called again?
The Papa Bawa.
The Papa Bawa.
You can Google that. There's a Wikipedia.
The Papa Boner, yeah.
Yeah. Wikipedia article on it, and it's got a picture that's not terribly unlike that.
Well, how do you spell it?
P-A-P-A.
P-A-P-A.
No, maybe it's P-A-P-O-B-A-W-A.
I do just gotta say, though, Matt has always been very good at drawing penises.
Mm-hmm. I have one, in fact.
Papa Bawa. There we are.
Let's see.
No picture. The picture's gone.
Just hit the image search.
Yeah.
And...
Ooh, it's got one giant eye in the middle of its head.
Yeah.
Oh.
You kind of got the one over. There you go. There you go.
He's got tattoos, even.
Yeah. That's more. I mean, that looks like something that someone put on Instagram or something. That's well drawn. Normally, they're a little more.
I'm guessing
subtle.
that was from an anime porno.
Yeah, that's the succubus comparison with the Papa Bawa.
I've never heard of the Papa Bawa.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So
anyway, there you go. For all my weirdnesses, that's one of them. So along with all this, and having researched this idea of God sending an angel with a sword struck me, because as you mentioned, it should be a flaming sword. Everyone kind of agrees it should be a flaming sword. If you talk to your average Mormon,
I've always thought it was a flaming sword.
It would be a flaming sword.
Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Totally. But it turns out it's a drawn sword. But this led me to another concept, which is, why would an angel use a sword in an era when there were guns? Right? And this is led me to this fascinating subtopic of what sort of technology does heaven have? And it turns out that it's a lot easier to find out what kind of technology the devil has, because there's lots of Mormon stories where the devil shows up, and there's one famous one about the Logan Temple. The guy's the president of the Logan Temple, and the devil drives up in a wagon with horses, with all these people who drive up with wagons with horses. And that makes me think, okay, number one, I guess horses are all evil because the devil has, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Those
number two,
poor beasts of burden.
If the devil was able to have technology ahead of the 1800s era, you'd think that he would come driving in like a Lamborghini, or something that was impressive, right? Something they hadn't seen before, or he'd have a chariot that they couldn't describe. But he's very clear. An Apache gunship would be freaking awesome. He could impress the temple president by landing and getting out and his hair's blowing in the wind, because apparently, is there all sorts of questions like, do devil horses take shits? Is there devil poop? Is there a poop person who cleans them up? What do you feed a devil horse?
Yeah.
Like,
shits out black holes. Eats stars.
And then if you go and Google some of the, there's other stories of, the devil riding on the waters, or the devil, the angel Moroni. There's 4 witnesses. We always talk about the 3 witnesses in Mormonism, but there was actually 4. And the 4th was, David Whitmer's wife. And she describes the angel Moroni coming in old ragged brown clothing and opening the knapsack, and the golden plates are in there. And this just doesn't jive well with the Mormon concept of an angel, where they like descend from the ceiling and they have these white robes that are whiter than noonday. So they just kind of skip it and forget the whole story. But this idea that angels walk around with knapsacks on and they kind of like old dusty cowboys sort of thing.
Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah. There's this book called Return from Tomorrow, and my dad loved this book. And it's about this guy who actually did die. They have it medically on record, and he comes back 3 days later. He was in the army, so they have a time of death and they have a time when he came back and all that sort of thing. Or I don't know the whole, but he goes on about it, and he builds a whole chapel and parish and belief system off of this experience he has. But while he's dead, he first leaves his body and he skips across the world, flying over the trees, and ends up in a bar, and he's watching the poor people addicted to alcohol, which I guess is all you lot, as they're trying to grab another drink and their hands pass through it, right? And he's like amazed how crowded this bar is, but it's only a few people and all the rest are spirits. And then he goes forward again, and this, I'm getting to a point, I promise. And he ends up in this building where they're working and they're constructing this thing. And he sees it and he takes it in. And then years later, he goes and he sees the first nuclear submarine, and he realizes that he visited in spirit form. And I forget whether he sees them building it in heaven or if he sees it building it in earth. But the concept here is interesting that there were spirits working on it along with the humans as well, just like the ones trying to grab the bottles of beer. That Satan could have nukes and nuclear submarines is this new concept that entered my head as a kid reading this book that my dad gave me, is that if you have wagons in the 1800s and nuclear submarines that angels are helping you build in our era, we've got to be really careful, man, because we are arming the adversary with all these. How does the technology of heaven work? They can only go with like at our rate. Like, do we give them iPhones? Are they able to communicate faster? Because there's this whole concept of what is it that they're able to do. And if you Google any amount of like LDS angel sword, right, you'll see them like protecting missionaries.
But could they even, can they touch physical things? Because like with the bar story, the spirits couldn't get the spirits, right?
Right. They couldn't grab the alcohol, and yet somehow they have these steel weapons.
That's well done.
Yeah, there's all these pictures and iconography. There's the angel with the flaming sword, which it wasn't in any of the records. But this idea of I like the one with the Jedi down there in the temple robes. That's a great one.
Oh yeah.
But it like missionaries being protected by angels with swords around them, and you have the stories of sister missionaries who are out there and the guy's about to molest them or kill them or whatever, and there's these 2 big Tongan looking guys behind him with swords or whatever it is. This we have this image. Oh, there you go. Wow. This image that the sword gives of this like power at the end of your arm that guns just don't, for some reason. We don't like the iconography nearly as much as swords. And so when we go back and reflect on all of these sorts of ideas, like the giant bat that rapes men and we have these images in our head, and they're more sticky than the reality. If you ever, like, you know when you're watching a movie and you just know the gun's not going to work? Whatever the monster is, the gun, no matter, we have this feeling of like, the gun is just not powerful against monsters, man. But a sword, you could go up and punch the monster in the face when bullets have bounced off it, and that works every time. You know, there's this feeling, and I think a little bit my own experiences included. We fall into this sort of like, it feels more right, and we construct our narratives around it. So I think that's why Satan drives a horse and buggy in the 1800s.
Well, and I think a lot of that is that you can identify with the pain more, right? Like I don't know, you guys have probably noticed this, that when you're watching a movie and somebody gets shot, you're like, ooh, that would suck. But if somebody is coming at somebody else with a knife, and the person they go to attack grabs the knife blade, and it's retracted away from them and cuts their palm and fingers and everything, you can identify with that pain. You've felt very similar pain. Something similar has happened to you at some point in your life, so you can identify with that a lot more easily than somebody being shot with whatever, right? Because very few people are shot, and
well, it's definitely a more intimate weapon.
I'm clenching at the thought.
Yeah. When somebody's playing the where they stab between their fingers with the knife.
I can't remember how that song goes. They do a song with I'm waiting for someone just to slice a finger off doing that.
So you said your thing was in 3 parts, and the last was that we would go always a freaking genius.
I kind of did the marketing thing already. That was the idea, is that if you can get into the crack, we'll go ahead and let that humor happen again through this kind of different approach from just I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, to go ahead, tell me why your God is good, and make them think about it, that there's a legitimate reason. I got there through maybe a crazy way because I didn't start with the null hypothesis, but I think it's a useful tool anyway. So there you go. That was the final concept around that. Did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
So it's largely a tactic with some weirdness, belief stuff still hanging on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're not all perfect, I guess. But that said, I think a lot of people do have a weirdness. I mean, that was one of the things I experienced in Sweden. We had so many people ask us to come and exorcise. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Demons?
Exorcise
Demons,
out of their apartments. Even though it's the most atheist country, they all, you'd say, this was a normal conversation, right? Hi, we're missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're here to talk to you about God. Do you believe in God? And they would say something like, well, I believe there's something. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I believe there's something. Which I would put under that progressive deist / agnostic umbrella of, there may be something, but, now if I were a missionary, I'd say, do you know if that something is good at all? And I think most of them would be like, no, I have no guarantee of that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Whereas we would just launch into, we know that God is just and all-knowing and powerful and good, and that he's our Father and that he loves us. Which there's a wide gap between those two. Just because you have a father doesn't mean he's a good one.
Right.
Well, there's a wide gap between those two, and then there's a wide gap between saying that God is all-knowing and he loves us and wants to take care of us, and looking at the world around you.
Yeah.
And there's also a wide gap sometimes in between being an atheist and being a skeptic.
Yeah.
Also true.
So just because Sweden has, such high numbers of atheism and they're kind of meh, just like you are, do you believe in God? Meh. But that doesn't mean they've put a lot of thought. You have. I'm not saying that. But that doesn't mean they've put a lot of thought into it. They haven't argued it. They haven't worked their way out. They just kind of are, everyone's meh. And it just doesn't, it's not a thing, really.
Yeah, I would say they're more anti the Church of Sweden because it had just stopped being, by law, you had to pay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you were born, you had to pay a tax to the church. And when you were a certain age, you had to pay for baptism, whether you were baptized or not. And you had to pay when you died to the church. So they were mostly just, I don't do any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
and so it made it easy to have conversations about religion in a way that it wouldn't have otherwise if they'd actually thought through it. So I think you're absolutely on with that.
So with that going on over there, it had to be a really hard time to, you go over there, you're trying to convert them to Mormonism, you're getting through all the stuff, then you get to the point where like, oh, by the way, we're going to take 10% of your check every week.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, what the fuck? We just got out of a religion that was taking our money.
Your lifetime earnings, yeah.
We almost never got there, to be honest. Long before that, we had to say, and by the way, coffee is out. And they're like, wait, I thought I heard you say coffee. Yeah, we don't do coffee. Like, why? Why are you awake even? And then the other one was the law of chastity. And in Sweden, they're a very free people.
Yeah, they're very sexually progressive.
Very sexually progressive, and they have, I think, a very fascinating view. One that left, again, another shelf item for me. They didn't rate their movies the way that we do with like the R and PG-13, but if there was a gun or anyone killed anyone else in the movie, it was not allowed for children.
Oh, okay. So violence over sex.
But any amount of titties, absolutely allowed.
So the opposite of here.
The opposite of Utah, the absolute. And what I said, this place is so wicked. One of the members said, "Now wait a minute. What do you mean?" And I'm like, well, because there's, so much sex, and they're like, every parent wants their child to have a good sexual relationship. almost every parent. But no parent wants them to murder someone.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you take your kids to see that? Now, if they do have like really kinky,
that seems so
weird
much more
sex,
rational.
it does.
Yeah.
And it was really a problem for a little missionary boy out in Sweden. I'm like, that seems reasonable. Why are we the way we are? So if they got into really kinky stuff, or if it was very
50
adult,
Shades of Grey.
yeah, then that would be rated as well, because you don't want your kids to learn abnormal. You want them to experience normal, and if they seek the abnormal, that's fine. But you want them to do it when they're older, and so that was kind of their stance. And coming back to Utah, to BYU, where they edited out, swear words, and yet I watched Speed. Right? Do you remember Speed? Keanu Reeves in the Varsity Theater, where the guy. He's under the bus. There's the bomb. The guy comes up from underneath the bus and he says, "Man, you really fine that time." And everyone cracks up in the theater because he's been bleeped for this 5-second thing. And yet they're murdering people left and right. There's machine guns, and they're gonna,
guys getting run over,
and this moral ambiguous situation about the people on the bus versus everyone else on the street, and all these complex concepts. But they blip the few swear words,
the sound that somebody makes with their mouth. Yeah,
that's right, and that was really difficult for me, having just come back from Sweden. So anyway.
No, I'm with you on the swearing thing. I've always thought that was very silly.
Yeah, I get more offended when someone says, "Can you please not say those words?" I'm like, why the fuck not? What the fuck does me saying these words have to impacting your life whatsoever? Like, it's a word.
Makes me feel icky. I don't like hearing them. Well, then don't fucking listen to me.
Well, then
fuck off.
And I'm like, either I take my pants off and stand here and have a conversation with you, or I fucking cuss. Which one are you going to be more uncomfortable with? And usually they tell me to take my pants off. No, that's never happened.
Just something you long for.
I know. I'm waiting for the person. I've never actually said it to anybody, but that'd be interesting to say to someone. Like, would you rather me take my pants off or keep cussing?
And then you'll be asking that to the police in about 2 seconds.
Well, I'll be explaining it to the police. Like, well, I gave her an option. I wasn't going to do anything sexual. I'm like, was it more offensive for me to cuss or
why not
be
both?
naked? Well, yeah, I mean, I can cuss when I'm naked too, so.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Evans. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. I'm the author of The Reluctant Apostate and senior editor of jwsurvey.org, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
All you have to say is, science is a philosophy of discovery, intelligent design is a philosophy of ignorance.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Well, I think the last bit of business that we have for this evening is our drawing.
We do got that.
I still have not posted any pictures of anything.
I know, you loser.
I might do that before this goes out. Well, I probably will have to, because we're going to pick a winner tonight, and then they'll have to pick what they want to, what they want me to
True,
send them.
but the photos were supposed to help encourage people to send stuff in.
If we do this again, we'll have to set up a regiment.
Yeah. But this was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
This was good. And
First time trying something new.
One of our fans will end up with some nifty shit. So
swag.
we have the list of people who have submitted 5-star reviews and have sent those into us. As far as the people we can identify, there are some that we still could not identify because there's nothing but a username.
Well, these are the ones that actually sent us the emails like they're supposed to.
Yeah. Or that we could identify because they signed it in the case of one of our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Signed, they put their name in the review itself, so that was easy. But so these are for the people who followed the instructions for the most part and submitted a review, and then also sent us an email with the information about it. And so what we're going to do first is that we have our list of people who have done this, and we have a random number generator that will tell us how many times we're going to pick a random number, and then from there we'll say, okay, well, it told us that we have to do this X amount of times, and on the last time, that is the person who is going to win. We've assigned a number to each of the people within the drawing, so this is 2 times random.
Yes.
So, first, a number between 1 and 10, how many let's not do 1 and 10, let's do 1 and 5. How many different times do we have to generate a random number? And the answer is...
Let me change that to a 5 real quick. Well, it says 1.
1?
1.
We have to do it only one time. Okay.
Then I gotta change it back to the number of people we have. All right, want to bring that list back up again?
Okay.
Do we have a drum roll we want to play for the person?
And the winner is...
All right. The winner is Andrew Vodopich.
Andrew Vodopich.
Oh, my. Very nice. Very cool. He's going to be on the show.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, he's going to be here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, then he can pick it up then.
Oh, yeah, I don't even have to mail it out.
Yeah, I was like, that's great.
Awesome.
So
Fantastic.
There you go. Andrew Vodopich, you are the winner of the giveaway.
The lovely prize that you will be able to pick from.
And thank you all for your ratings and participation in this drawing.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again for something else.
It was meant to be. It was clearly there is a God.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
Maybe just like once a month or once a quarter or something, we'll have a drawing for stuff. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, congratulations, Andrew. That'll be awesome. And then, yeah, I don't have to mail it. He can just pick it up when he comes to the studio. Yay! That solves another little problem. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, we are going to move to the Patreon portion of the show.
We did pick up some new Patreon members this week.
That's absolutely right. So we want to thank all of our Patreon patrons. That would be Dr. Dan, Matt's boss from the 2SC podcast, to whom we pledge loyalty. And if you haven't seen our video, you should go and check that out that we released.
Yeah. It's very important breaking news about the two skeptical chaps.
Yes.
And the Zodiac Killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're awesome reporters and police officers over in London.
Tracy watched it and she's like, you did a really good job of like sounding just like kind of a dummy. I'm like, thanks. That's kind of what I was aiming for.
I did it without trying.
And she really liked your disguise.
Hey, don't say that on the air. It was definitely not me.
Oh, that's right. Definitely not Matt Mitchell from the Godless Rebelution. But we also want to thank Janet Uter, Stephen Andrus, Mo Calbell, Christy Kalbach, Andrew Vodopich, Let Them Eat Kofefi, Larry Wilson, Marius Kot Butrakowski. I hope I pronounced all of that correctly. Wes Aaron, Utah Outcasts, Andy Faulkner, Angelica Pearson, Jeremy Goodson, Brandy Hamrick, Alicia Gerhart, Taylor Graham, Grant Larimer, Savadakuna, and the Gaytheist, Mr. Aaron Burton.
Thank you all.
Thank every single one of you.
Aaron sent me a message on our Patreon page.
Yeah.
After apparently hearing me read the bit about Dr. Dan, Matt's boss, to whom we pledge our loyalty.
Yeah.
And it was like, where the fuck is my loyalty?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We should change the wording of that until they up their donation to a reasonable amount. I don't think it's worth saying that every time for that piddly amount of euros they're spending.
Maybe we'll have to adjust the way we do this in the future or something. I don't know.
Pounds, whatever.
Rewrite the rules to suit our own.
Well,
our
after
own needs.
Brexit, they're kind of screwed over there anyways.
Yeah, but he's a doctor, man.
Well, yeah, but not like a remove organs doctor.
Not a real doctor.
Yeah.
Not that kind of doctor.
Yeah. I mean,
he just knows stuff about stuff, not medical stuff.
Does he have a TARDIS?
Ooh. I want one.
All right, we're going to move into the Patreon portion of the show where Mythrin will be joining us and talking about some nutty Mormon history, which is always a lot of fun because you are a font of fun knowledge about that kind of stuff.
Whether I want to be or not.
So that should be a lot of fun. All of our Patreon patrons will be able to experience that. And if you would like to do so, you can join as a patron of the show for as little as $1 per episode. Of course, at different levels, you also get other things like bonus content every now and then, clips of the show, shirts, merchandise, whatever, at different levels. So go out there. You can find us on patreon.com/GodlessRebelution, and we appreciate your support. thank you very much for coming into the studio again with us, Mythrin.
Yes.
This was awesome.
It was interesting.
Always great to have you on the show. And so until next week, crucify that like button.
Leave a review to achieve nirvana.
And rate the show 5 times a day toward Mecca.
Did you say 47? Because that's not a 4. I'm not that drunk.
He did that a couple weeks ago, just randomly came up with 147, and it was like 165. Me and Ryan are like, what the fuck?
Like, I don't even see a number 4 or 7 on the board.
I'm trying to. Is that an actual compliment, or is that just trying to fill the space there? It's okay. It's okay. I got it.
I think you ended with, well, I vaccinated my kids. I'm like, then why the fuck are you arguing about this?
That's good enough for my kids, but, other people.
Shut the fuck up, everybody.
Oh, no, feel free to pitch in.
Oh.
I'm just letting you know.
This is Mythrin, author of The ABCs of Science and Mormonism, as well as I Should Start a Cult, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution. That was so close.